Welcome. Let's go ahead and create our repository layer. Let's head back to our IntelliJ. Now I'm going to create another repository package. So let's name it as repository. And here I'm going to create a new interface called property repository. Yes, this will be an interface because that's how Spring Data JPA works. We have to create an interface and then this interface should extend from CRUD repository. In Java, one interface extends another interface, one class extends another class, but one class implements another interface. So in short, same type extends each other. So here we have an interface which extends another interface. And this interface basically takes two parameters. The first parameter is the name of the entity on which the whole CRUD operation will happen, like the update select queries will run. In our case, that parameter is nothing but property entity. And the second parameter should be the data type of the primary key column of this entity. So let's go to this entity and see which is the primary key column. This is the primary key column because it is annotated with @ID. So what is the data type of this? Long. Hence, here we have to give long as the value. That's it. Now what will happen? Magically, this CRUD repository already has some methods if you see. So how did I enter here? Keep pressing Ctrl, hover your mouse and click. So here it says this is a repository which has methods like save an entity, save multiple entities, find an entity by ID, and here by ID it means the primary key column. Check if the entity with this particular ID exists or not. Find all, find by find all by ID, count how many records exist, delete by ID, delete all. So all these are already existing methods. Save can also be used for update. So if all these methods exist, which means we don't have to even write any methods. We can directly now use this interface because our interface is extending this and all these were public methods, public abstract methods. So they will already be inherited here. Hence we can directly use this. All right. So now we have declared our repository. Next thing we have to do is if we go to our picture, like we used our service in our controller and auto wired it here for dependency injection. Similarly, now we have to inject our sorry. So we have to now inject our repository layer inside our service layer and then auto wire it here for dependency injection. Let's do that. So this is our, let me minimize all this which is not needed so I can get rid of this. POM not required, DTO entity not required. I will, this is our service layer. Here I have to now say private property repository property repository, and then I have to also auto wire it. So So where is the implementation class for this interface? We haven't defined. Spring by default with the help of Spring Data API is going to create an implementation class for us. Just that we have to make sure we auto wire it, otherwise we will get null pointer error. And now we can call our repository here. So property repository dot save method. But this save method takes, what does it takes? It takes an, let's say, it takes an entity type, property entity type. But what we have? Property DTO type. So that is not correct. So what we have to do here? We have to now make sure that we convert it. So we have to convert the property DTO into property entity type, only then it will take, this function will take that. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll say property entity. I cannot directly assign property entity equal to DTO. That's not allowed. So property entity PE is equal to new of property entity. Then I will say property entity dot set ID. We don't have to give, it will auto generate. I have to set property title. So I will grab that title from property DTO. So get title. So one by one I will get the values from here and start putting it here in this object. And then I can save this, copy, paste. Now that is fine. Again, property entity dot set of address. So we will get it from property DTO dot get of address. Then we have property entity dot set of owner email, property DTO dot get of owner email. Then property entity dot set of owner name, property DTO dot get of. So we are just doing get and set, get and set. So this should be name, because we are setting in the name, so it should be name. Then what else is left? Property entity dot set of price. So property entity dot get of price. Okay, now for now we just ignore what we are returning from here and why it is null. Leave it, that's fine. We will work on it in future. Okay, now what we want is to run our application and see if everything is working. So let me run this application in a debug mode. As soon as I will run my application in the debug mode, you will see some magic happening here. Here we will, in the log, when it will start, it will try to create a table also for us. And because we have given SQL property show true, so it is going to show us the SQL statements here. So if you see here, it created a property table. Then it also created an sequence that will start with 1 and increment the value by 1, and this will be used for our primary key column, because here we said auto generated, and then it created this property table for us. So it created this whole create table query. We did not have to write anything, and now it has started. So if I go to the property file and again and show you, this is the property we gave. So it is showing us the SQL here, and then we gave this @id and generated value this. So it generated a sequence which will start with value 1 and increment by 1 by 1. So first the ID value will be 1, next time it will be 1 plus 1 2, then 2 plus 1 3, because increment by 1. That's how it will be saved in the database. And next, what did we say? Allow this database to be accessed by the browser. on this URL. So let's go ahead and try to access it. So if we go here, this is the URL, base URL, because we are using the embedded database. So this will be database will be also running with the Spring Boot only. So this is the database server page. There can be multiple databases. This is the driver, multiple databases. So let's go and grab our database. So this is our database URL. Copy this, go to the server URL page, server page, paste it. Default username is SA, password is blank. So let's go and use the same. SA, password is blank. Test connection, it's successful. Connect. As soon as I will connect, you will see it created a property table column, a property table. And this property table, why its name is property table? Because in the entity we said create with this name property table. If we would have not given the name here, then it would have created property entity with this name. Let's check what is the title column it created. Property title. See, automatically it created property title, but description, it will be description. Owner name, yes, because we followed camel casing, so it will create owner underscore name. Wherever it was capital, it will replace with underscore. See, but description, it kept description, email, email, address, address. Perfect. So now our table has been created. Very good. And it also created a sequence for us. Here, this is the Hibernate sequence it created, which we don't have to worry. And this Hibernate sequence value will be used to fill up the primary key. So click on this. So you can clear from here. Click on this and run. So now now there is no data in this row. But at least now our ORM mapping has been done, which means our table corresponding to our entity class, a table got created in this, which is with this name. Corresponding to these fields, different columns got created. That's what we saw just now, right? Table got created, columns got created, and this table and column correspond to this particular class, and this particular class corresponds to the table, and its variables corresponds to different column names. Let's check. Variables corresponds to different column names. You see this? Perfect. So ORM, object, and database is relational database. So relational mapping is being done. Who did it? Hibernate. How can we prove that? See, Hibernate. Everywhere it's Hibernate. So under the hood, under the Spring Data JPA, Hibernate is working to do this task for us. It's creating the queries and it's talking to the database for us. We are not doing anything. We are just using this interfaces, classes, and everything. Hibernate is taking care. How? Because of the properties that we gave it. We said use this driver class, use this dialect, and use these configurations. All right. So Hibernate took those and it is doing our job. Now if I try to hit this, let's say send, so we see what will happen. So this is our controller. So request came here. Let's see. We gave two values only. Apartment 1 and nice property. That is fine. Others are null. That is great. So in our picture, from here, we gave a request. We gave a DTO. This is our DTO now in the controller. That's what we are seeing now here. Let's move forward. So to move forward, we have to go inside this. So I will click this F7. So it will go inside this. So where are we now? See, we are in the service layer. So let's check. So now our data, the DTO from the controller came to service layer here. Perfect. Now in our service layer, we are doing some conversion because our repository layer is not taking what is coming from our service, from our controller layer. So from our controller layer, it is coming as DTO, but our repository layer is taking entity. So we have to do this conversion. And this conversion that we do, which means when one layer gives one type of data, another layer, which is here, accepts another type of data, then the compatibility conversion that we do, which we are doing here, this kind of pattern is called adapter design pattern. Adapter design pattern, which is this one. It is one of the structural design pattern, adapter. What does it mean? That here, repository layer here, it's expecting entity, but service layer is giving DTO. So they are not compatible. So we apply a conversion. So we are converting the DTO to entity. And same way we will convert the entity to DTO. So this pattern is called adapter design pattern. What we are doing here. And what are in general design pattern? Design patterns are a way in which we can write our program so that it is foolproof, future proof, and it adheres to certain standards and guidelines. So it is a nice way to write program. So it is basically the best practices that we should use. Design patterns are the best practices that we should use in writing program. So we know about singleton design pattern, which is just one object gets created and reused. We know prototype. Every time new object gets created. We know the adapter design pattern now, where it is converting one to another so that the layers are compatible with each other. We know factory design pattern. Factory design pattern is one interface will be there, multiple implementing class will be there. The object of which implementing class gets created, that particular class functionality get executed. That's factory design pattern. We also have something called MVC design pattern, model view controller, that we will see in some time. But for now, if I now further go, because now I am in this class, I have to move forward in this same function, so I can use this F8. So what I'm doing, I'm taking the value of this. I will take this title value from this DTO. I will take it out. It's like opening one box, taking the value and putting it in another box. So I will evaluate. I will click evaluate. Sorry. So we have to copy this whole thing. So property DTO.get title and then evaluate. So it's giving me apartment 1, although spelling is wrong. Now if I move forward, it is already set here. So now apartment 1 is set. If you see, ID is still null. Who will generate the ID? Database will generate the ID. That's what we have said here. So ID will be null, but other things will be set. Let's go further. Let's move further. So it's setting the other values. And now if I click this, let's see what's the problem. Let's resume it. Let's resume it and we see what is the error. So it says that the property value cannot be null on, oh yeah, we have passed some null values. That's what it is complaining about. So let's clear this and resume this. I will resume this. So let me debug it again, because we are passing null values, so database is not able to store null values. So let me start in debug again. Meanwhile, we will form a proper request. So here I will say what else we have to pass according to our DTO. In our DTO we have title, then we have owner name. Let's go and take the owner name. So let's also correct the spelling. Apartment owner name is, let's say, John Doe. Then we have owner email. So we will have it as John at gmail.com. What else? Let's check. So owner email price and address. So we will use price and address. So price wise, I'm going to put some data. Price, what did we keep? Double, that's good. So price of this apartment, say 999 something. Then we have address, address, address XYZ ABC Street JKL country, something like this. Now it's done. Now if we try to send request, it will stop, it will get all the data, we will go forward, and if I go here and just resume this, we will see nicely our database will have some data in it. So I will cancel this and run it again. So session has expired. Let's log in again and click on this run. You see, very nicely we have the information now stored. Why is the description coming null? Let's check why is the description coming null. So we have description, that's correct. Nice property, DECRIPTIO in description, spelling is correct. In the property also description spelling is correct. Let's see in the converter. Yeah, here we forgot to set the value of description. That's why it is not correct. So let's set it. Let's set description is equal to property.get description. So now if we restart our server, it will also save the description. So this is how we basically save the data. So what we just did is we passed the information from the client postman to controller we receive the information, the JSON information in the DTO, and then we passed it to service. In the service we converted it to entity using the adapter pattern, and then entity we saved it into the database, and that's what we saw. So we completed the whole flow of saving a property in the database. Let's continue in the next video with this.